All right, hi everyone. Welcome to Mindgasms. So, I'm Andrew, aka Evil AI Mindgasms, for the purposes of this chat. And we've got CJ, aka Chris James, aka Tubin the Cable Guy here, my friend from Ontario, who I often do podcasts with. And we're going to talk about the famous linguist Noam Chomsky's recent comments in a New York Times article talking about Chat GPT and the future of AI and linguistics and that sort of thing. And I know that you, Chris, had mentioned Chat GPT before when you and I were you and I and Dusty were talking recently, and I thought people would find it interesting for us to discuss Noam Chomsky's thoughts on it, because of course he's a world famous intellectual. So yeah. Um, like I said, I found a bit of a summary here. You think I should just read it here first, and then we can talk about it? I think it's like it's only 7 paragraphs.
Yeah, start off with that, and then we can come. I mean, like, regardless of Noam Chomsky, we could probably just do a whole, you
Oh
know,
yeah, for sure, for
podcast just
sure.
on AI in general. But yeah, start off reading that, and then we'll go
Oh
from there.
yeah, for sure, for sure. I just mean using it as kind of like a jumping off point.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Okay, so oh yeah, right. Let me screen share the article here. Okay. Okay. You can see that now?
I can. Yep.
Okay, good. All right. Noam Chomsky says ChatGPT is a form of high-tech plagiarism. I'll try to read it far more enthusiastically than the way that Noam Chomsky himself actually speaks. Because if I were speaking like Noam Chomsky, I would say, Noam Chomsky says that ChatGPT is a form of high-tech plagiarism. Um, In a recent interview, renowned linguist and cognitive scientist Noam Chomsky gave his thoughts on the rise of ChatGPT and its effect on education. What he had to say wasn't favorable, as more and more educators struggle with how to combat plagiarism and the use of these chatbots in the classroom. Chomsky gives a clear viewpoint. For him, the key all lies in how students are taught, and currently our educational system is pushing students toward ChatGPT and other shortcuts. And then he quoted, I don't think that ChatGPT has anything to do with education. Chomsky tells interviewer uh, Thijman Sprackle of Edu Kitchen. I'm not sure if I pronounced that name correctly. I think it's undermining it. ChatGPT is basically high-tech plagiarism, unquote. The challenge for educators, according to Chomsky, is to create interest in the topics that they teach so that students will be motivated to learn rather than trying to avoid doing the work. I would totally agree with him about that. Chomsky, who spent a large part of his career teaching at MIT, felt strongly that his students wouldn't have turned to AI to complete their coursework because they were invested in the material. I don't know if they would today. If students are replying on ChatGPT, Chomsky says it's a sign that the educational system is failing. If students aren't interested, they'll find a way around it. That's true, I think. The American intellectual strongly feels like the current educational model of quote unquote teaching to test has created an environment where students are bored. In turn, the boredom turns to avoidance, and ChatGPT becomes an easy way to avoid the education. While some argue that chatbots like ChatGPT can be a useful educational tool, Chomsky has a much different opinion. He feels that these natural language systems, quote, may be of value for some things, but it's not obvious what, unquote. Meanwhile, it appears that schools are scrambling to figure out how to counteract the use of ChatGPT. Many schools have banned ChatGPT on school devices and networks, and educators are adjusting their teaching styles. Some are turning to more in-class essays, while others are looking at how they incorporate the technology into the classroom. It will be interesting to see if the rise of chatbots will help steer us toward a new teaching philosophy and away from the teaching to test method that has become the driving force of modern education. It's the kind of education that Chomsky says was, quote unquote, ridiculed during the Enlightenment. And so indirectly, this new technology may force schools to rethink how they ask students to apply their knowledge. And yeah, that's the end of that summary of the article there. So yeah, that was, kind of pretty predictable opinion, I suppose. What do you think about what Chomsky said and Chat GPT in general?
Yeah, you know what? I had a similar reaction. Like first time I heard about Chat GPT, I texted my buddy who's a school teacher and I was like, dude, watch out for this. You're gonna have, students trying to complete essays or write um, do their homework using this. Um and yeah, I was kind of I thought the same thing at first. I mean, I don't know, having thought about it a little bit more because I knew we were going to do this thing. Like at one time, they thought the calculator was going to, destroy mathematics, and that was going to be computers were going to take over. Um, like which they already have. You go into a Walmart or McDonald's these days, computers are already taking over a lot of these jobs. I think the key is going to be how are you going to be still creative as a writer or as a researcher, scientist, whatever field you get into academically, but still be able to use this Chat GPT as kind of like a tool, like you would a calculator to kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I agree that it's hard to say that. I feel pretty similar about the issue of AI in general too, that I used to be more convinced by the alarmist people like Sam Harris, like that book by Nick Bostrom that he mentioned, and he talked to the philosopher and author on his podcast before. That book called Super Intelligence, which was basically a whole book about how AI bad, and I used to be more convinced by that. And then there's also the other opposite side of the argument, which is the Ray Kurzweil singularity thing, that we're going to merge with technology and it's going to be a utopia, basically. And yeah, I mean, like Chat GPT and other things like that could continue to evolve, and then it's really hard to say whether it's going to end up drastically better or drastically worse, or maybe we'll do what we've done in the past and kind of adapt to it. And yeah, you're right, like there have been panics about new technologies for like for most of human history, or at least a large portion of human history, depending on how you define technology. And usually the panic ends up being undeserved, and there's a bit of a difficult transition period and people lose their jobs and stuff, but eventually society adapts to the point that they just make it a common tool, like with the calculator, for example, that you used.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm panicking, but I'm
I'm
definitely
not
like,
saying I'm not saying that you are.
no, I'm not saying
Yeah.
that either. I'm just saying I know what you're talking about. I know those types that are panicking, that are, pretty much think that we're almost at Skynet here, and the Terminator is coming down the pipe. I'm not quite there yet, although I'm open to it going that way. Who knows? I don't know. I don't think Ray Kurzweil or the other gentleman you mentioned before.
Nick Bostrom.
Nick Bostrom. He's the guy that with the paperclip theory. Is that right?
Yeah. Do you remember hearing about him? Hunter criticized him on mixed mental arts. He does
No.
like he does like he has some sort of like I don't know, Northern European voice, so he imitated and said basically like, well, basically you make it give it instructions to make paper clips as efficiently as possible, and it will destroy the world. You
Yeah.
will try to stop it, but it will destroy you.
um, I don't think either one of those is Kurzweil or Bostrom's theories are gonna eventually pan out. Who knows, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think people thought first when social media, Facebook first came out, it was going to be one thing of showing your puppy dogs and all that kind of stuff, and not turn into family members not talking to each other
Yeah.
over,
Can you imagine, like,
vaccines or
when
something.
Twitter first came out and tell them what Twitter would be like nowadays?
Yeah, exactly, right? It's and I think like if there's any panic, it's more in the similar realm as kind of the toxic kind of culture, that online culture that surrounds, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, um, TikTok, all those, like, you know what I mean? I think like Chat GPT or AI and all these other things that are coming down the pipe, I think these are going to just make just like social media and stuff like that kind of worse or harder to detect. It's just going to make like all that stuff is
Oh,
fake, right?
yeah. It's gonna be so much easier to make trolls, for example, because you
Yeah.
can or make troll chatbots,
Yeah.
basically.
Or
Like you can
fake.
just say, okay, program to respond in the most insulting way possible to every comment, whether it makes sense or not. It doesn't even have to make sense. It just
No, it
has to piss
doesn't.
people off.
Yeah. And we're already seeing kind of sprinkles of this. I don't know if you saw, somebody was circulating a arrest picture of Donald Trump with like the FBI, and it looked like real,
Oh,
but it was like,
I heard that he said he was gonna get arrested. I didn't actually find out whether he did or not. So he didn't?
um, I don't know. I think tomorrow is like the day, but I mean,
I thought it
depending
was
on,
supposed to be yesterday.
yeah, it's supposed to be Tuesday. I mean, depending on what voices you're listening to, some say he's going to get arrested, some say he's not, some say it's political stunt. You never know with Trump, so
Yeah.
you know, it's like Stevie Wonder throwing a dart on the board. Where it's going to land on this one, who knows? But yeah, going back to the AI, social media, I think it's gonna. I just hope it. Well, not. I hope. I have a feeling, an unfortunate feeling. I'm black pilled or whatever. That
Oh.
I think
Oh,
AI
are
would
you
be.
talking about sorry to interrupt. I'm just looking at you mentioned I'm looking at something that says fake photos of former President Trump getting arrested.
Mhm.
So also there are deep fakes of it happening already, and some people believe that it did happen and some people believe that it didn't.
Yeah, like Snopes, I even think had to debunk one of the pictures or something like that because it was getting a lot of traction.
Wow.
Yeah, but that, like, this is where we're at, right? Where like AI is going to be able to manipulate photos of news stories in real time, and it's
Yeah.
gonna, people are already up in arms about what language you use on certain platforms. It's gonna be, I don't know, and I've already, yeah, I find myself like kind of pulling away from online social media, you know what I mean? Like it's so fake right now as it is, and I think AI is just going to make it twice as fake, which loses a lot of like aesthetics for me, like a lot of like, I don't know, and I see this I see this with Instagram a lot. Like Instagram is very fake, and I don't like I'm posting on there and I'm, dropping memes and all that kind of shit, but I don't really
Hilarious
stay.
memes, by the way.
Thanks. But I don't really, it's more of an entertainment of shit posting for me. It's not more about, you know what I mean? It's like I literally post memes and then I'll put my phone in the corner and go and play guitar for a few hours. You know what I mean? Like I obviously will come back to it later to see how that did traction wise. I'm just like everybody else on there, but I'm not like it's not something I'm it's not something I'm gravitating towards anymore. It's like a game to me. Do you know what I mean? And I
That's
think
good.
that the game is getting kind of stale, and I think a lot of people are in the same realm. It's like even like I'm not gonna lie, like the girls that you see on there with the boobs and all that kind of
Oh
stuff
yeah.
it's getting kind of.
I'm sure I follow tons of girls with amazing asses who in reality have asses that are far less amazing than the way they look on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah. I yeah, like I follow Kate Upton and all those, you know, Kardashians as well, but they get suggested to me all the time in my, like, you know what I mean? And they also get, like, I always get the ads on Friends, like, you know, Stacy 6969 is added, and it's like,
Oh yeah.
I know that's not my friend, right? But it's like the staleness of the Instagram game is getting old for me, and I think for a lot of people too. It doesn't have the attraction that it once did. It's you know what I mean? Even though it's like it's constantly showing me dopamine, it's showing me guitars, it's showing me women, it's showing me awesome, like, sports goals, and, you know, all this stuff that I want to fucking see on a constant basis. But it's not like, I remember there was an attraction to Instagram, that, and an aesthetic to it, and it's lost a lot of that. And I think AI is going to just magnify that time. And Facebook the same. Although Facebook is like, I'm rarely on Facebook. The only time I use Facebook is like to talk to you guys through Messenger. You know what I mean?
That's mostly what I use it for too.
Yeah. So I think like AI is going to be. It's going to have a what are they? What's the word they call it? Honeymoon. Yeah, a honeymoon kind of effect where people are going to love it, be obsessed with it for like a year or two, abuse the shit out of it. But I can see this slowly becoming stale for a lot of people if it's used in the way like Donald Trump, like I was saying. If you're using it as a tool to, like, you know, hey, I need to write a essay on, you know, water erosion for, you know, my boss or something, yeah, whatever, then it's perfect for that, right? Awesome. And that's
Mhm.
going to keep escalating, getting better. We're already seeing, like, they're up to Chat GPT number 4 now, right? Like number 3 came out like 6 months ago, and we're already up to number 4. So that technology is going to progress faster than we can keep up. But I don't think it's good for us as humans and for our psyche as kind of like, you know, slightly more intelligent monkeys. You know what I mean? Like, this is just like, we're not meant to see this kind of stuff. Like, even like,
Yeah.
even the fakeness of like, go all for the girls, for, you know what I mean? If you see girls that have like used those filters, or they use like, or they even get plastic surgery done, right? There's something
Yeah.
about the way they look aesthetically that's just, it's not real. And it's,
Especially when they do those obvious filters where you can tell it's a filter and they're not trying to hide that it's a filter.
yeah,
That
yeah,
looks that obviously looks the fakest.
yeah. No, yeah, all that stuff is fake, man. Like, even like guys that are pulling um magic tricks, or like, you know, the people that go and interview people on the street, like those are like their buddies sometimes that they interview. Like, all this is like a
Oh
setup,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, all this stuff is a setup. Or like
I
the
I
Sean.
was thinking too. I mean, I think this is a bit more cynical than I would go, but people were pointing out. I don't know if you heard recently that sort of controversy with Mr. Beast, who's this guy who tries to be like philanthropic on YouTube and talking about how, and I'm sure this is probably true for some people, or some people are kind of just grifting about that, kind of like you said, or they're making videos of themselves doing nice things for people out of their own ego. Like, I'm going to make a video of me buying a Subway sandwich and then going and giving it to someone. I mean, if you want to do that out of pure generosity, it is true that you probably wouldn't record it unless that's already
Yeah.
something you're doing.
Oh, dude, there's so many videos out there of like influencers or guys that have like a lot of money, like taking the homeless guy to an NBA game, you know what I mean? Getting him shaved and all that, getting him in a suit and bringing him to the game. And like, that's amazing. It's like, that's cool for your content for a day, but then he just goes back on the street and is a drug addict for the rest of his life. You know
Yeah,
what I
that's
mean? And you're
true.
just kind of
Yeah,
abusing this guy for likes and hurts and shit like that, right? So,
yeah.
and yeah, just going back to, yeah, the fakeness of it all, right? And for those that aren't kind of, I don't know, not smart enough, but those aren't those people that, because like, if I log on to Facebook right now, there's those people that are still posting on Facebook that were still posting like 10, 15 years ago, right? There will always be those type of people that are
Mm.
always going to be posting on these platforms and using AI. But my hope is that if you're paying attention, you'll use it as a tool, but not let it abuse. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope you're right.
Yeah, because I mean, like, social media hasn't really been that great for us, right?
Um, basically the basically the main thing I like about it is being able to share my YouTube videos, and like you were saying before, it's how I communicate with some people like you and Dusty.
Yeah, I think it's great for marketing and content creators and just like general artists like you and me. You're making podcasts. Here it is. Here's my episode. Here it is. If you're living in Mexico, you could watch your podcast if you wanted to. And I'm doing the same with music. Here's my music. I could throw it out there, whatever, right? So it's great for that. But it's bad for those people that, you know, they let it affect them emotionally,
Yeah,
right? They'll see what.
man, I'm really glad, like, for me, that, like, I'm not addicted to these things anymore at all. And
Mhm.
for Twitter in particular, I've never really been addicted to that one. But because that I'm glad I've never been addicted to that one, because that one seems the worst. Like I feel proud of myself sometimes when someone tells me, did you see what happened on Twitter? I go, oh, I don't think I went on there in a few days. And then there are some people who they'll go to check all their social media as soon as they get up. I used to do that with like Facebook, but nowadays I'll check those things. If I get a notification, I'll check it in a few hours or something after I do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if I have I would love to say that I don't have an addiction to social media, but I think I do. I definitely have an addiction to my phone. That's for sure, right? Like
Yeah, I think everyone does, or at least most people. Yeah.
that's for sure. And I think it's like I go on Twitter still, but I do like my brain will click in after 5-10 minutes and go, "Hey, Chris, it's too much." You know what I mean? Time to get off, and I'll get off. But then I'll hop on Instagram and I'll do that for 10 minutes. And then after that, I'm on weather. And then after that, I'm checking email. So my phone is like you know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
the
Well,
dopamine
it's
stuff for
still
me.
like with me too. I haven't used one of those apps that track how much you use your phone.
Mhm.
uh, because I also use my phone a lot for listening to audiobooks and listening to podcasts and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I've tried to do that even less lately too, and literally listen to less audiobooks than I was, and spend more time physically sitting down and reading too. So I spend less time like watching YouTube videos or listening to music on my tablet or listening to podcasts or audiobooks on my phone throughout the day, because even if it's something useful I'm consuming, still the method that the delivery system through which you're consuming it is still using those devices. So I feel like it's a good idea to take breaks from those things sometimes, because I feel like I use them too much throughout the course of the day.
Yeah. No, I'm guilty of that too. But I think you got the right idea, dude. You're doing I think balance is key, right? So I think not always doing just podcast or not doing audiobooks 100% of the time. It's like, and I do this too, where it's like I'll read a book, an actual physical book, I'll buy it, and then I'll audiobook a book, mostly because I can't get the physical copy or whatever, you know what I mean? But then I'll do the same with music. I'll buy a record, I'll listen to the physical record, and then I'll, listen to it in my car on my stereo digitally. So um yeah, there's different ways to, yeah, but a balance I think is key, is what I was going was
Yeah,
what I was agreeing with you there.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's good to like the problem too is that that's one thing that can be addictive about anything electronic, even audiobooks, because you can listen to audiobooks while you're doing something else. Someone can read for you while you're doing
Mhm.
something else instead of having to sit down and read a book. But
Yeah.
I just enjoy the experience of sitting down and reading a physical book at more than any other way of reading a book, even though I also listen to audiobooks and read ebooks.
Yeah, I'm the same. I do enjoy the physical book. I find it is harder though, now that we live in this kind of computer screen age era, where I used to be really good at sitting down for like an hour and reading a book. Now when I sit down and read a book, I can find myself like after 10-15 minutes going, oh, and you know what I mean? It's like my attention isn't as longly
Oh,
held
yeah.
as it
I
once was.
actually, I don't have trouble sitting down for like 45 minutes or an hour a day to read. I'm I'm pretty good at focusing when I try to, but because because I speed read and I try to read as fast as I can while still being able to process what I'm reading, um, I basically the recently I tried reading in shorter chunks, and that seems to work even better, because it seems like even if you don't have a relatively short attention span, it seems like it's easier to maintain focus for a shorter period of time. So I can like speed read for 10 minutes at a time throughout the day. I find that's it's easier than setting aside the time of like 45 minutes to an hour too, because it's harder to make excuses when you're just going to go like, I'm just going to go read 20 pages of my book. I don't have to like do it before or after I do these 18 other things.
Yeah. Now, do you find if you listen to like an audiobook or a podcast for like half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, that suddenly you'll be listening and you're like, oh shit, I haven't been listening or really thoroughly paying attention for the past 20 minutes. And then you'll have
Yeah,
to go back and rewind it.
sometimes that happens. Yeah. Yeah.
See, I think what I've been trying to kind of like sharpen my knife, so to speak, as far as that goes, is like, I think that's when my attention stops to really ingest podcasts. So when it gets to that point where I'm like, oh shit, what's going on in the conversation? I missed like the last 5 minutes. That's when I'll switch over to music now and like let my brain kind of like take a breather from just words. You know what I mean?
That's a good idea. That's a great idea.
Because I think that, yeah, a lot of time is wasted. I know for me, because I listen to so many podcasts and stuff like that, that I don't think our brains were really meant to, you know what I mean, absorb this much information. So, well, you can, right? People have been reading books and that kind of stuff forever. But I think, yeah,
Yeah, that's part of why I've been trying to like do less of that sort of thing lately, like listen to less podcasts and watch less YouTube videos too. And I try to be like, I still watch YouTube videos and listen to podcasts every day, but I'm more ruthless than I used to be about selecting which ones I watch, because I try to look at it more as entertainment than education, even if some of it is educational. Like if like I've been re-listening to Daniele Bolelli's History on Fire podcast, and those are pretty educational. And I usually listen to not all, but a lot of the new Joe Rogan podcasts, and then when I'm choosing YouTube videos and other podcasts to watch, I think, okay, I want to watch this, but how much of this is just like junk food for my brain? Like, this guy clobbers this guy in debate, or this person said some super dumb shit. Can you believe it?
yeah, I try to stay away from culture war stuff unless it's a really hot topic of the day or something like that. Like I've been kind of paying attention to what people are saying with this Trump arrest, even though I don't really care. And I
Yeah.
don't think anything's really going to come out of it. I think it's going to be similar to the Mar-a-Lago thing that happened a few months ago.
Yeah. I was
But
just thinking last night randomly right before I went to bed. I was thinking, wow, Trump stopped being president in 2020 and he's going to make it all the way to 2024 still being in the public eye and people still arguing about him.
yeah, it's really unbelievable actually. It just goes to show you how I don't know. It's not, I don't know if is it intelligence, is it ignorance, are people happy with this kind of duopoly that, or are Americans happy with this kind of two-party state system that they've had forever? You know what I mean? Because both candidates are horrible, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I
know,
don't know.
man.
I don't get it either. But I get it at the same time. It's like I'm paying attention, right? I don't care what's
Mhm.
going on, but I'm paying attention. So like anybody that's
Yeah.
a
That's why it's
YouTube
like
creator.
entertainment, right?
Well, yeah, but anybody like any of the mainstream are definitely reporting on this right now because they're able to cash in on this. This is huge for them, Trump being back in the headlines. And anybody that's on YouTube and reporting of this, like the breaking points, the Kyle Kalinskis, the whatevers, they're
Mhm.
also reporting on it too, right? Which is, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what they do. It's just that, yeah, I don't know. I think the Trump thing is getting old, but I don't know.
Yeah.
At the same time, he's such a polarizing figure that you, I don't know. You kind of gotta pay attention somewhat. I don't know. It's weird. He's a weird guy.
Yeah, I think it's maybe worth paying attention to some of the more serious stuff, like him potentially actually getting arrested or the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago or that kind of stuff. That's perhaps worth paying attention to. But I mean, him, I don't know, him calling some chick fat or or that sort of shit is kind of dumb. or they, recently him getting, I think he got indicted for doing some sort of financial fraud in order to pay off Stormy Daniels. So he committed fraud in order to hide him cheating from his wife or something.
Yeah, well, that's the case that happened back in 2016, but it's being revisited. That's why he's in trouble or being arrested right now, is that they're trying to get him on this money that he gave to Stormy.
Man, I was thinking, man, that is the most expensive sex ever. Just fucking hire a prostitute who looks like her. He would have saved like how much money? Holy shit.
Ooh, I disagree there. I would say that, well, any girl I would think would cash in on, like, she didn't really speak up until he became like apprentice guy, or he started running for president, right? Like, I think
that might be true. Yeah,
a decade ago, because like, wasn't there like a book deal, or she sold this story before?
Oh, did she?
Like Vanity Fair or some kind of magazine publication, and it didn't, or she got some money out of it, but then anyway, any girl, I think, and this isn't a knock on women, but I think a majority of women would cash in on sleeping with a president if they have a story to tell. Well, I would. Any guy would. Sorry, any person would. That sounds sexist. Any person would cash in on that. You know what I mean? Sleeping with.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like that probably is true regardless of your gender.
Yeah. Side note. Yeah. Okay, the thing that's funny about this whole thing, though, because he calls her Horseface, right? But
that's totally a thing that guys do if they're like denying that something happened with someone. I wouldn't fuck her. She's a horseface.
But this is the thing is like he did fuck her. This is okay. I ended up thinking about this the other day in a red light. I don't know why, but I'll break this down. So he calls her Horseface, right? But at the same time, he slept with her. He found her sexually. Trump's a billionaire. He can sleep with anybody he wanted to, right? If his flavor was like Asian, I'm sure he could find somebody that was Asian, right? If his flavor was like, I want somebody that's 7 feet, 400 pounds, I'm sure somebody, you know what I mean? He's a billionaire, right? He's got enough power and money to do all that. So he picks Stormy Daniels. And the other girl that he slept with, the Playboy model, was very similar. Blonde-haired girl, big boobs.
He loves the blonde bimbo type.
Exactly. Yeah. But he sleeps with this girl, pays money, whatever, sleeps with her, and then he calls her Horseface after she, comes forward with this story and basically stabs her. But at the same time, you were the one who found her attractive, right? So like the dig is at her is that she's unattractive. She looks like a horse, but at the same time, you were attracted to that horse.
He probably didn't even consider that point. He probably didn't think about that. It's just probably a reflexive thing, like, oh yeah, well, you're a horse face.
Yeah, exactly. There's no filter. But if you just summed up that right there, that's Trump in a nutshell right there.
Yeah,
he doesn't think he was like trying to make fun of like whatever, because this is what he does. He's doing it with Ron DeSantis right now. And
what does he call him again? Ham something or other?
No, it's Hot Dog Ron or something like that. Or the other one was I don't know. Who cares?
I can't believe we're talking about Trump's nickname for Ron DeSantis right now.
No, I know, but but this is what he does: is he makes names. And the Horseface one is just, that one's fucking hilarious to me. I don't know.
Yeah,
he calls her Horseface, but yet so you're attracted to horse faces because you're the one who picked her as a person to sleep. You know what I mean? It's just funny. Anyway, AI. Chomsky.
We went down that rabbit hole by starting to talk about how there was a deep fake of Trump getting arrested.
See, this is why Trump is who he is because there's so many avenues you can go with Trump. That even just showing a picture or bringing him up as an AI picture, we went down the rabbit hole of Horseface.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where we ended up. But we could have went like anywhere. We could have went Apprentice. We could have went January 6th with that. We could have went his re-election bid in 2024. We could have went the Republican candidate. You know what I mean? There's
he just I'm sure he loves it. I'm sure I'm sure it's his dream to just be in the news as constantly as possible.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think that's why he he was the one that said that he was getting arrested. Like he kind of put the cart before the horse on this one and said, "I'm getting
Yeah,
arrested." You know what I mean? Which he loves to do, because I
yeah.
think he's playing the, "Oh my God, the deep state is after me. Oh
I
no, I
saw
can't."
that. Who was it? I thought it was one of those lefty channel videos. I didn't watch it, but I saw that it exists earlier today. Like on the Majority Report, they were saying even Steven Crowder and some other right winger guy were telling Trump to chill out and saying like maybe worried that he's going to try to provoke another January 6th or something.
Yeah, maybe. They're putting up barricades to New York. Although I don't think that anybody would, you know, try
I
to.
don't think anyone would be stupid enough to do that
Yeah,
again.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what even though you could, most people would say, "Oh yeah, Republicans, GOPs would definitely show up and do stupid stuff." I don't know. I highly doubt that. I think they would be pretty tame if they were going to protest at all, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Um,
Like, I don't know. It's so. This is like with the that can be the problem with AI, with deep fakes in particular. Like there could easily be deep fakes circulating that start something like that. Like if enough people had believed that deep fake of Trump actually getting erected arrested, then that could have started another January 6th type event.
oh yeah, this is what I mean. I don't think I don't think like AI is ready to turn into a robot and shoot us down with AK-47s yet, but I do think AI is here to manipulate information, images, video, news, spin biases, do all those kind of thing to, you know what I mean? Because these are ultimately
Man,
designed.
you can imagine all sorts of terrible shit that could happen because of this. We like we were talking before already about revenge porn, for example, where people do deep fakes of porns of people they hate or people they like or their exes or something like that.
Yeah,
That can be disastrous. You could do deep fakes of people killing each other. You could do all
yeah,
sorts of terrifying shit that could lead to disastrous consequences.
yeah. And there's like a whole bunch of stuff we're not even thinking of when it comes to that. And this technology is just getting better
Yeah,
and better.
the Uncanny Valley.
And yeah, it's gonna be like, I don't know. Like, are they training police officers in police college for this stuff? I highly doubt it.
That's a good question. Yeah, yeah, there could be like, oh man, there could be fucking terrible like AI prank phone calls or some shit like that.
Yeah, or like, I don't know. Yeah, you see, I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of horrible stuff that could, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah,
well,
it was interesting what Chomsky was saying about education and how it can go different directions too, because that could, hmm. I mean,
no, I
like
would
if
say that about his article, now that you read that, he's starting from a place where he thinks like, okay, this is just my opinion here. I'm not a teacher at all. I'm not in the education sector at all, but I think the education system is a complete failure and fuck up and mess. And it has
oh,
been for a
totally, I
very,
agree.
very long time. I would say like at least a decade. It's not
That's
the school
why
that,
that's why I have been, I mean, I slowly figured out that it's virtually impossible to make a living as a tutor for me, but that's why I or anyone else can have a job as a tutor because the public school system does not cater to different types of people. It caters to teaching every child all the same way.
yeah, I don't think it's not a meritocracy anymore. And not just education, I would say across the board, even in like, public sector jobs, yeah, yeah, we don't have to get into the whole that, but yeah, I think that so with Chomsky there, he sounds like he's concerned about education kind of going off the rails because AI is going to come in and destroy that. Well, for me, education has already been destroyed. I don't see AI making that any much of a difference.
Hmm. Yeah, well, yeah, like similarly to what we were talking about before, just in terms of AI in general, it could turn out badly, or it could turn out well, or it could turn out some sort of mixture of both. There could easily be a way that AI makes students start cheating on everything, or like the article was saying, you also could change the education system and make it more conducive to perhaps teaching students in ways that don't transfer to taking tests, which I know a lot of fucking kids would appreciate that. I
Mhm.
sure would would have when I was a kid. And it wasn't until an adult that I learned that you don't have to learn that way. And I learned that learning can be fun and it's not actually boring. It's just teachers teaching me fucking boring math, or teaching even exciting subjects in a boring way ruins them.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, one or two teachers can definitely throw you off in a school system. Um, yeah, so I just don't think that AI, again, if it was used as a calculator, and if some schools are going to ban it, I think that's kind of like an emotional reaction. I don't think you're going to get very far by banning it. I think eventually it would be like trying to, like back in the 90s, trying to ban computers and the internet from coming into your school. Like, good luck with that. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
It would be so cool if they did some sort of alternative, like they kind of briefly alluded to in the article, and they mentioned this in that Breaking Points video I watched about this, that some teachers are starting to do this thing where they actually gather together and they have a discussion about the topic. That's a fucking great idea. I want to go to that school. That's the way like the ancient Greeks did it. That's how education started, and
Mhm.
that's one thing I appreciated about my philosophy teacher in college when I went back the first time, like several years ago, because there were two classes a week. One was a regular one with taking notes, basically, and then the other one, we would arrange our desks in a circle and discuss the topic that we took notes about the other day. I thought,
That's cool.
that's a really good idea. Why don't more teachers do that? Then you know that the students are actually understanding what is fucking going on.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many. Yeah. What? Same with the Chat GPT. I mean, some teachers will probably use it, some won't. It's like, why doesn't every teacher use it or not? Why can't there be a universal? Why doesn't everybody get in a classroom and sit around and talk
Yeah,
about
that's I heard about that too, how
it?
some teachers are you know, having it in their class and like playing around with it in the kids. That's a great idea too. Like if you say, okay, so you could treat it like a game. You could say like, let's have a suggestion of a topic for it to write something about, and you could do that with your class, and you could do it in any type of class that you want to incorporate it into.
Yeah, for sure. You could have a student write a poem and Chat GPT write a poem, and then everybody take bets on which one is a human and which one's, I don't know. There's so many game. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, so many different types of things like that. Yeah.
yeah, but it won't be. And the unfortunate thing is, the educational system won't use it. I mean, at least at first, like that. It will probably be years until it's used properly at all. And by the time it's at that point, I don't know. Again, like I, I see this technology AI coming in as kind of like, it's like a, hey, look, this is like a, you know, um, it's kind of like a window into how things are going to kind of be in the future, right? Like, if you like, I have kids, so I'm thinking like these days, like, do I really push my son to go to university or college these days? Not, maybe not. And what do I do? Do I push him into any kind of like, you know, like, I'm more inclined to push him into like working with your hands, more of a trades kind of a thing, than I am anything that could be replaced by a robot or an AI eventually down the road.
Hmm.
Um,
Couldn't AI perhaps replace jobs in the trades down the road too?
yeah, it certainly could, man. My parents were eating like dinner the other night, and they text my mom, who's like 65 or whatever. She texted me a video because they're at a restaurant, and a robot was coming out and gave them their food, and then it came, put trays, and it took them back.
Holy shit, really? Where was this?
In my town,
Oh, wow.
like at a restaurant that's connected to a Best Western, to a hotel.
Wow.
So they're using robots now to serve people food, right? So
Wow.
even like something like that, that's kind of intricate. You got to go to what table, you got to pick it up, you got to take orders. You know what I mean? There's different dynamics at play. Even that is going to be replaced by robots. So going back to educational system, like Chomsky's worried about AI taking over the education system. My question is, like, do we even need an education system anymore? I mean, like, again, we don't live in a meritocracy, right? We don't, Harvard's really struggling right now and being sued by Asian people because the
Oh,
enrollment
yeah,
is
the
so lopsided that
affirmative action class lawsuit, right?
yeah. And I mean, uh, I don't know. Yeah, like I think that we gave out MDs and PhDs and all that kind of stuff in a time where the education system, we had libraries and encyclopedias and all that. There wasn't no internet or no YouTube or anything like that. But now that these things, anybody can become a Goodwill Hunting, right? Anybody could go and just read whatever the fuck they want and
I do
just be a.
that all the time.
So do
I
I.
educate myself every day, mostly for free, or like with books I buy at secondhand bookstores.
Yeah, and the frustrating thing for you, and I feel the same way. I know we both do on this, is that we are probably like way more knowledgeable than people that go to these universities and take these degrees and get all these kind of, well, they pretty much get indoctrinated now by a certain bias, I would say, right? And yet
It
we
depends
don't.
on the school and the teacher, but
That's
yeah,
correct. Yeah.
when the last time I went back to college, I took 3 classes, and two of them were fine and normal, and one of them, the professor, it was my sociology class. I called it the woke indoctrination class, and it sounded that way in the course description. So I wanted to go into it just to see what that sort of experience is actually like, and it was pretty much exactly the way I expected it to be. Like, every class was about racism and sexism and depression and neoliberalism and capitalism and Marxism and fat phobia and literally every predictable thing that you would think that a woke teacher would want to discuss.
Yeah. And people know that. I mean, I've heard of employers not hiring out of the university system now because don't want that wokeness to come into and fuck up their HR system and screw around with like wanting days off for, you know.
Man, if that's the case, I consider that a good thing. Like,
Oh
for
yeah,
people for
this is
people in general, because probably the majority of people don't have college degrees, I would say.
this is all a good thing for sure. And we are kind of going through a transformation where like institutions are crumbling, media, university systems. AI is going to probably speed that up a little bit further. But yeah, going back to like, yeah, you and me, we're probably have read a lot of books and a lot more than those people that have those PhDs and those diplomas in frames above their bed. But we don't have that. I don't have that MD beside me. I got a high school diploma. That's it, man. You know what I mean? I make like whatever.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I don't have any of that stuff. If I were to go for a job interview right now, um yeah, here's a picture of my bookshelf. I've read Haidt, I've read all these people, blah
Yeah,
blah blah. But that doesn't, you know what I mean, it's not, I don't have any kind of certificate with a thing on it. And isn't
yeah, I
that just what
know.
the university is these days, is getting you a certificate to say, proven to the person that you're interviewing, hey,
Yeah,
guess what, I'm able to read a book and I'm able to regurgitate
yeah.
talking points out of that book, you know what I mean?
That's why one of the major reasons, um, the yeah, well, I guess the major reason I stopped going to Keanu the second time more recently, when I went back a few times after high school and pursued different degrees. I went and pursued journalism before, and then last time I was going to pursue a philosophy degree, because if you had a Bachelor of Arts, then that makes it easier for you to get some tutoring jobs at places that are like tutoring places like businesses where students go to. So I thought I'm just going to get a philosophy degree because that interests me the most anyway. And then I bailed on it because for one thing I thought, why am I paying thousands of dollars to do this for fun? I mean, I get that it could help me, but I think that this could just easily end up being the case that it's not actually going to even help me out anyway, because there are plenty of people with college degrees who still have to get jobs at Starbucks and things like that. So why don't I just do what I'm already doing anyway, which is reading, because I'm interested in philosophy, reading and studying philosophy and making videos about philosophy books and learning about philosophy on my own without having to pay thousands of dollars for it.
Yeah, I'll claim ignorance here. I don't know what a philosophy degree can get you these days, other than becoming a teacher of philosophy, I would
Yeah,
assume.
I'm pretty sure that's all it's good for, really.
Yeah, and again, like, don't you have to do another 7 years of teaching on top of that, on top of your philosophy degree? You know what I mean? So
Not for, well, if you're gonna be a philosophy teacher, yeah, yeah.
yeah, oh, they'll go. I have again. I have a buddy that's teacher, and I was talking to him the other day. They're like taking people that aren't even finished teachers college now because they're so desperate for teachers right out of
Oh,
school.
yeah.
So it's, again, there's not a meritocracy there. You don't have to be fully graduated to become a teacher anymore in certain areas if you're really desperate for a teacher, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah. Uh,
Yeah, it depends on the place too, because like here and oh yeah, that's another reason too that I was going to get a bachelor's degree is then you can also have substitute teaching jobs because I figured in addition to tutoring, I can maybe do that too because people have asked me about whether I want to be a full-time teacher before, and I always say, fuck no, I'm okay. But I enjoy teaching one student for an hour at a time. I'd never want to teach 30 students for 8 hours a fucking day. Are you kidding me? That's terrible. That's why I'm so glad that there are people who want to be teachers because I do not want to fucking do that.
yeah. Oh, I think that would be cool to do. Although there would be, I'm thinking of a utopia right now in my head. It wouldn't be that, you know what I mean? I'd have to mark papers
Dude,
and
on day
fucking,
it
yeah, I'd
depends,
fucking
and it
hate
depends
it.
on what age you're teaching. Can you imagine
Mm.
like teaching kindergarten? Like
Oh
you
no.
have to go, oh man, you have to take them to the bathroom because they peed themselves or something,
Oh,
or even like if you're teaching teenagers in high school, you might have like kids throwing shit at you or something like that, or I don't know, they could be sneaking alcohol in class or some shit like that.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, there's going to be pluses and minuses to whoever, whatever age group you teach. Maybe a university professor might be the most ideal. You're teaching to people that are paying to be there. They somewhat are going to seem interested in what you have to say. And if you're just like up there giving lectures all day, like Peterson or whatever,
Hmm.
um,
Oh, that's another way that, to connect this to AI, that reminds me the other reasons that I stopped pursuing my philosophy degree was I was going to Keanu right at the start of the pandemic, so it was already transitioning over to virtual learning.
mm,
So I was like, okay, so this is even more of a reason to not do this anymore because if I'm just going to be going to classes virtually, that's like almost the same thing that I do already. I read books and I talk with my friends and sometimes occasionally intellectuals about them. If I'm going to do that, almost the exact sort of same thing virtually, except I also have to write like fucking 10-page papers on a regular basis, then I'd rather just not do that.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
another reason why getting a university degree is so annoying because especially if you're in the like if you're in the so-called soft sciences or the arts or something, you have to do tons of fucking writing.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons that some sort of thing in the trades has sometimes appealed to me before too, but I've never gotten specifically interested in any specific trade. But I like some of those hands-on jobs that I've done before. Like I was a painter for a brief period of time, and I worked for a moving company for a brief period of time. And I liked especially working for the moving company because I like working out anyway because I do it every day. So I've enjoyed jobs like that before, but um, like, and those jobs are way easier to get degrees for because you don't have to write fucking 10-page papers. You gotta like learn, okay, how do you do this skill? Okay, can you do this skill or not? Okay, that's how we're going to assess whether you get this magic piece of paper. That's I
Yeah.
do sometimes like the more straightforward aspect of that.
Yeah, it's this like my job is like that. It's pretty straightforward. It's the same thing every day though, and it does get monotonous after a while, and
I
it's
bet, yeah.
repetitive. It's kind of like working on an assembly line, even though I'm not working an assembly line. But at the same time, it pays the bills and it pays okay. And I mean, we're always looking for guys. I feel like yeah, and I had this conversation with a buddy the other day, but I feel like incompetence is at a maximum right now across the board. It's so weird. Like, so many things are fucking, you know what I mean? Like, you go to get a coffee these days and it takes you an hour. You go to like pay your bill, your gas bill, and you can't get a hold of anybody on the phone. You go to get something fixed and they don't really fix it properly. You order a part on Amazon and did they really ship out everything? You go to order a meal at a restaurant and they forgot the rice or something. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everything is kind of like not falling apart, but um I feel like this is what's happening. I don't know why I'm talking about this right now, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. So I feel like the boomer generation is kind of retired, and those were like the people that really knew how to work and get it done. And you know what I mean? And I think that this millennial generation, and I'm a part of that, these people that have taken over, they're very selfish. It's all about me, 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 me. They don't really give a fuck about their job. And it's all about just getting a paycheck at the end of the day and then getting the fuck out of there. But I think if you put that across like where everybody's at right now, and a lot of people retired over COVID, I find that a lot of shit has really fallen apart here. I'll tie this in AI right now by saying that I think that AI is going to be helpful here because it will make up for that incompetence and that selfishness that is coming with the generations, my generation and the generations below me.
How so?
Well, writing, for example, right? Like getting my son to write anything these days is fine, but he's going to write like a page. He's not going to write like a novel of 10 pages. They don't have the attention spans like we do, right? They are like iPad and blah, blah, blah. And I really have an attention span going back to like barely can listen to podcasts for that long, right? So I think like AI, let's say you need a report done for your boss on, siding measurements on a new house that you have to do a renovation on. And he wants to, well, you can get AI to like, do the cost, put it into blah, blah, blah. And they will do a majority of that work. You just got to, the human will hopefully do the lazy work that we can hopefully just get by and hopefully have AI do all the horsepower work. There's obviously going to be a lot of ups and downs to that and and that's not going to be able to be in every trade and in every work, but yeah, I hope,
Yeah,
man,
like those
because
people, they're
someone's going to
usually
save us.
employees who monitor the self checkouts at grocery stores, for example,
Yeah,
because
those
things
ones.
go wrong sometimes.
Yeah, I get those people, like, they have a job to do at the end of the day, but those ones really make me scratch my head. Like, I've had ladies say, "Oh, hey, you should try to use our self-checkout line." Um, and it's like, you do realize that you're, like, talking
You're
yourself
talking
out of a
yourself
job,
out of a job.
right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, I mean, as a person that kind of not worked in a dying industry, but, like, I get that. You're just doing whatever the boss tells you to do. It's
Hmm.
it's weird, that this is what people do now for a paycheck, you know? It's
Yeah.
cringe work.
Yeah.
I hope AI
Definitely.
is here to save us, but I highly doubt it. I don't think Kurzweil or Boswell are either right on this. It's going to have its ups and downs for sure, but I just don't think it's
Kurzweil and Bostrom.
Bostrom, sorry. Yeah. I think that it's ups or yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either, man.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
interesting, that's for sure. It's gonna be entertaining, if anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's gonna be like,
I
yeah,
mean, like, kind of like you were saying at the beginning, I think it's probably going to be, and as you kind of alluded to there also, I think it's probably neither going to be, you know, utopia or an apocalypse. It'll be some sort of thing in between. Maybe we'll integrate it. Maybe there will be dangerous aspects. Maybe there will be a huge adjustment periods with some negative effects, and then it'll end up leading to a positive outcome, but not a fucking utopia. But
Yeah.
who knows?
I'm gonna steal something from a podcast I heard the other day when they were talking about AI. Oh shit, I forget which one it was. But anyway, the conversation they were talking about AI. They were talking about Hollywood and AI, and basically,
Oh yeah,
somebody brought up the point that this could be a good thing for Hollywood. Think about this right now. Hollywood's kind of like dead, and we don't really even make like movies like Rain Man anymore, right? You can't. There's no comedy. You can't say anything offensive. But picture a world where there's no more Hollywood celebrities anymore, and every movie, comedy, action is all made by AI, human-like people. So you have an AI character 552 or something like that, right? Let's just we'll put a number to his name. But 552 stars in the latest comedy that's fucking making fun of like all this shit, right? But you can't cancel 552. It's not an actual human being. It doesn't have a conscience. It doesn't have a, you know what I mean? So those movies might be able to
or
get
you
made
could just,
again.
or you could just cancel it anytime it pisses off anyone, and just create a new AI to act in the next movie.
But there's no human being behind that actor, right? So that you could have that person play that role and not have any, you know what I mean? They're not going to get canceled for being a racist because it's actually not a real person. Do you know what I mean? So those movies might be able to get made again.
I mean, they could. I suppose they could, like, they could keep they could have the AI keep the same name, but change the way they look totally.
Yeah. Okay. I'll
Also,
give you examples. If you're like Tropic Thunder, picture Tropic
yeah,
Thunder.
Tropic Thunder could not come out today, man.
Exactly.
Definitely
Right.
not. Definitely not.
What's the guy that plays the
Robert
oh,
Downey
yeah,
Jr.
Robert Downey Jr., right? So
Yeah.
let's say you're making Tropic Thunder today, and you know you can't put Robert Downey Jr. in that role today, but you could put an AI in that role. You could put 552 in that role. Why not? He's not going to get canceled. There's no Twitter mob going to come after his Twitter account. He's not going to have a family
Couldn't they
to worry
come
about.
after the studio for putting a character like that in the movie, though?
Yeah, true.
You
Yeah, that's a
chose
good
to
point.
create this racist AI.
Yeah, that's true. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the studio is maybe there'll be more studios because you don't have to pay actresses and studio sets and all that kind of stuff. You could just generate this all in AI, right? So there'll
Yeah.
be 10 times more studios
Well,
than.
it'll screw over actors, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing too. Imagine a world with no actors or actresses anymore. Everything is AI.
Maybe human actors would just do stage plays until only robots do stage plays.
Yeah, maybe that's a good point. And actually, now that I say that, that's because I'm comparing this to. I'm thinking about music now. Imagine every musician or every was all AI.
Oh yeah, you wouldn't be able to be a musician anymore either.
Well, yeah, we're getting to that point. But yeah, it would.
Yeah, and similar that what's that other one called? Not the Chat GPT, but the visual new AI thing.
There's a bunch. I got a whole list of them. Let me bring them up.
But
There's Chat
like
GPT.
that could
There's
be the one
Dolly.
for which one?
Dolly. DAL apostrophe E2.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and Chat GPT is there's like a number 4 or something that's out now. They've
Right.
upgraded.
There's one that draws pictures instead of creates text, and that could easily advance to the point where it could. People have already talked about this, of course, where it makes human artists obsolete, perhaps, or with writing, for example, it could make fiction writers or nonfiction writers obsolete. But I don't know. I mean, it feels like I don't know what to think about that either, because I also can see both opposing sides of the argument on this too. I can see how people would find art made by humans to be more rare or valuable because there's something more unique about it, and same with novels and nonfiction books. But then I mean, that could easily not be the case at all, too. Maybe people would prefer stuff made by AIs because it would be new. Maybe it would be able to be different in ways that human art never has been before. I mean, who knows?
Yeah, like I think Jackson Pollock would be a perfect example of that. Jackson Pollock is not really. Do you know what that is?
Yeah, he was the I think he was maybe the first, was it impressionist, or I think he might have been postmodern.
Yeah, he's a
What's his name
well, yeah,
again?
artist. Jackson Pollock.
Yeah, yeah,
He does
yeah.
art.
Very strange art.
Yeah, so Jackson Pollock, right? Is like it's very strange, right? And if you're to throw that up in your house, you'll
Yeah,
throw
he
that
is
up.
expressionist. I just looked it up. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
It looks weird.
yeah, like my if I had a 3-year-old son, he could make something similar. Do you know what I mean? He makes that kind of
Hmm.
art where it's just like somebody took a shit on a canvas and smeared it around, and that's your painting or whatever, right? But
Here, I'm gonna screen share a Jackson Pollock painting here.
yeah, they're really weird. Um,
Yeah, this here. Yeah, that that does just look like, you just basically just threw paint at the canvas.
um, yeah, but if you have a Jackson Pollock, right? You don't get a painting like that. Or if you get a painting like that, right? Like if that painting over there, let's say that's a Jackson Pollock. People that come over to my house, I'm like,
That
that's
one.
a Jackson Pollock over there, right? Like there's a name
Yeah.
to it. I own this art because I want to show off that I
It's like a
actually.
brand.
That's right, like Metallica, right? Like you listen to
Hmm.
Metallica
Yeah,
because
yeah.
people,
Hmm.
you know what I mean. There's the sound of it when you hear Metallica. The hits. You can picture art on drums. You can picture Kurt or James on fucking guitar singing. You know what I mean? There's like an aesthetic to it or something like that. The
Hmm.
AI Jackson Pollock, that doesn't it doesn't pass the sniff test in your house. Do you know what I mean? You can't have your friends over and go, hey, listen, this is.
Wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't it be harder to detect an AI in the style of something like Jackson Pollock because that like randomness is easier to fake than something more, I don't know, more like less random?
Yeah, but I think there's like a human element to a Jackson Pollock, or like even let's say I got to get out of the visual arts and bring this into the music realm where I'm a little bit more educated. So let's bring like a band like Ramones or whatever, right? So you listen to a Ramones record, it's like 3 chords. It's really fast. It's really simple. It's not really recorded that great. It sounds like it's not shit music, but it's fucking amazing
It's
music.
punk.
It's punk, but it sounds like, you know what I mean? Like an AI would blow that out of the water. But would an AI, like I threw on the Ramones the other day and it's a fucking 50-year-old record, right? 60-year-old record. I think they were in the 70s. Anyway, if an AI dropped a record today, would you really pick that up again? And you know what I mean? And I make this argument even today with top 40 music of today is, are we really going to be spinning um, Doja Cat in 2060? You know what I mean? I don't
Probably
think that.
not.
No, because their music doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't last. It doesn't have that, I don't know, that aesthetic artistically that makes it last over time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's stuff like that just lasts over time. Like the Beatles will, the
Yeah,
Elvis.
like 60 years in the future, I think Doja Cat will be remembered as, one of those other big booty girls.
Yeah, you know what I mean? She's not, but an AI that generates art, or it's not going to create something that's going to be like the Beatles and be able to last that long, you know what I mean? Or it's not going to be um like Star Wars, like George Lucas when he made Star Wars, you know what I mean? He was like broke. There was like a force behind him that he was trying to get this created. He didn't have the technology to make half those scenes back in the day. We have all that technology today to make any Star Wars film, but the Star Wars films that they come out with all that AI, all that fucking CGI, all that 10,000 of the best writers you've ever seen, J.J. Abrams directing the thing, the best cast you've ever seen in your life, it doesn't hold up, man. You know what I mean? That fucking 80s Star Wars film blows the shit out of
First
any
one's in
Star.
the 70s.
First one's in the 70s. But even Return of the Jedi, which I think was 79 or 81 or even in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah.
The last one was
I
still
know the
blows.
first one was 77. Yeah, the second one might have been just barely in the 70s too.
Yeah, any of those characters blows Ray out of the water. Sorry. And it's just
I don't know, like to me that like some of the, particularly this, I know that Empire Strikes Back is much loved by Star Wars nerds, but some of the acting in that is really fucking cheesy sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's bad acting in Back to the Future and Indiana
Yeah.
Jones and Goonies, but all those movies.
All of those except for the one, I think maybe I was talking to Dusty before, and actually I don't remember whether it was with you or talking with him lately that I said I didn't see the Goonies, but the in all of those other ones, I like the first movie the most too. I like A New Hope the most. I like the first Indiana Jones movie the most. I like the first Back to the Future movie the most.
Oh yeah, we all like it. My point is that like they're even Indiana Jones is coming out with a new Indiana Jones this summer,
Oh
right?
yeah, I heard that. Like, how fucking
There's
old is he now, man?
exactly, but they're still rebooting it today. Why are they doing that? Because they don't have any. We're still remaking movies from like 60 years ago because Hollywood has all these technology, all these best writers, but they don't have any way of like writing good archetypal stories where they have good
Man,
character
yeah, they
development
could
and
totally use it to just say, okay, create a new unique franchise that hasn't been done before. Something very unique, but something very marketable that we can turn
yeah.
into this giant franchise that will make us trillions of dollars.
Yeah, and they're not, right? Most of the stuff is like I love Indiana Jones, but if I were a betting man and I was going to bet my house, I would put all my money on this becoming a complete flop this summer. Whatever movie is coming my way, I will see it in theaters and spend $60 on a bag of popcorn. But it's not going to be a good movie. I know it's not. I don't have any faith in it whatsoever.
Yeah. I
But
didn't
the
hate
same
I
goes for
didn't hate
AI, though. If
I
AI
didn't
is going to
hate
be writing scripts, it's not going to be even better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Like, it could be just as bad or even worse at first. Like, if an AI wrote a movie right now, it would probably be like weird and nonsensical, I bet.
Yeah.
But it might have cool elements. Maybe there would be some good acting. Maybe there would be some good action scenes. Maybe it would look really cool, but it
Yeah. The
might
other
not
thing
make
is
sense.
who's creating this AI, right? Like um Google, Amazon, well, sorry, ChatGPT is Microsoft's baby now and they bought it out. They probably got a really
Oh, I didn't know that.
good deal on it because they bought it, they made a play for it early. But you know, if Google is owning the best AI writing software, let's say, right? And I need Google to write me a um a summary of lab leak, right? Is it
Oh
going
yeah.
to, you know what I mean? Since the
What
designers have
else
a
it gonna do?
bias. Yeah, what is it
Yeah,
going
the
to do?
designer's
Is it
bias
going to
is
be
totally gonna say it's either gonna be
it
like
comes from a
it'll
raccoon.
be it's a wacko conspiracy theory, or it's this truth of how it was actually caused, and and it's been covered up, and it's almost like you're saying this is a conspiracy theory or explaining it as if it's actually a true conspiracy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it would be interesting to see what, you know what I mean? Like It would be interesting to see what bias it has. It will be interesting to see because these things will ultimately be writing history for us. It'll be interesting to see how these AI write history for us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is it going to view January 6th as a complete and utter civil war meltdown and 300 people died and you know what I mean? Or is it going to actually say that whatever happened that day? I don't know. You know, how is it going to
I
report on
can't
that day?
believe how polarized people are on this too, and especially like you mentioned that Tucker January 6th footage too. Like
Mhm.
now that
Oh,
shit has caused people to think that the entire operation is FBI and there was no insurrection or anything, and then like man, it somehow got even more polarized than it was.
oh, there's so many polarizing topics, right? Yeah, you could. I don't know. How did the weather balloon come down? You know, who shot it? What happened
Yeah,
to the Nord Stream pipeline? What's going on with Russia, Ukraine? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're getting an AI to write me a pro-Russian, steelman the Russian argument for invading Ukraine, Chat GPT. Like, what is that
who's
guy
gonna
gonna do?
do that?
What's the answer gonna be, right?
Yeah,
It's gonna be like, I don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I
I
do.
mean,
That's what I do worry is the people that are designing this or the people that are funding this are because yeah, Microsoft owns Chat GPT. Isn't that Bill Gates pretty much owning Chat GPT? I'm not one of these guys that's like World Economic Forum. Bill Gates is a fucking, you know what I mean?
right?
Like
Yeah.
I don't really think Bill Gates has got pretty much control of anything other than what happens in his
Knowing
own
where his
home.
money's coming from.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. If he's got the power to fund this stuff, I don't know.
Maybe that's a
Yeah,
good thing.
yeah, maybe it is.
Depends on what the outcome's going to be, right?
Sure, but Bill Gates is one of these guys too, wasn't he? Pushing the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, nine booster, right? So is
Yeah.
this the guy that you want behind
And then of
the?
course the like vaccine hesitant or anti-vax people always point out um the footage of him being questioned about his dinner and supposedly brief friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, it's another thing. He's tied to that island, right? Is this the guy that? So he's obviously open to being, well, like all humans, susceptible to corruption. Do you want this guy running Chat GPT and making news headlines when he's open to, hanging out with sex island
A
owners?
lot
I
of
don't.
smart people were tricked by him, man. Or
Oh yeah,
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 he was a very good, like, not to excuse any of their interactions with him, of course, but he was a very good con artist.
yeah.
Man, there could be a you could like like we've been saying, you could use these AI tools for bad intentions or good intentions depending on who the person is. Yeah, that reminds me of basically how Isaac Asimov explores it in his short stories and novels mostly, that AI can be it AI can basically be evil or good depending on what a human is using it for, or how it gets programmed, or subtle differences in how it interprets the three laws. And you can totally see that being the way that these sort of things are used now too. Like you could Man, there are all sorts of different things you could do. Like you could make some sort of deep fake to ruin someone, or you could use it to help them, or all sorts of different things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of pluses and minuses to AI coming into our life. I just knowing the track record of most computer like apps and social media and other things that have kind of entered us through the technology realm over the past 15, 20 years. lots of positives, but a lot of negatives too, right? Like Facebook, social media, Twitter, a little bit of positive. Here's my puppy, lots of negative. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Interfering with elections, and your uncle's now a conspiracy theorist. You know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
like Uber Eats and um, Uber itself, right? These apps have come into our lives. They've replaced taxi cabs, amazing, and but
Yeah.
people are ordering so much shit now that there's probably twice as many cars on the road that they're, like
Yeah,
Thomas
like
Sowell.
order stuff from Amazon and then order food from Uber Eats, or we learned when we were, or actually maybe you already knew, but I learned when we were talking to Dusty last time that skip the dishes is strictly a Canadian one.
Yeah, yeah, we had this conversation last time. Skip the dishes, but all this like there's positives to it, right? Yeah, great. Grab me a salad from downtown, 40 minutes away. That's amazing. Sure, it costs $30, but like, I could also go to the grocery store and, I don't know. It's just like,
You can order
yeah,
groceries too.
you sure can.
Yeah, they started doing that. They started doing that during the pandemic, which is great.
Yeah, you can order groceries Walmart. You can go get it picked up, or you can have somebody do your grocery shopping for you. Just pick up the bags, or you can also get your groceries like delivered to your house
Yeah,
too.
that's what we always do now. You just order them online and get them delivered.
Yeah, Thomas Sowell has that awesome saying, "There's no good solutions, only trade-offs." So
Right.
for AI technology, the trade-offs seem to overwhelmingly outweigh the positives on a lot of this stuff, though. Like Facebook, Twitter, social media, Snapchat, all that, lump TikTok all together. Yeah, great. You found a lot of information. You get probably get a lot of your news there, but it's very toxic. It hasn't really done, Jonathan Haidt and Luke Yanoff wrote that whole Calling of the American Mind that looks at teenagers with high suicide rates from being online all day, especially girls,
Yep.
being very not
Yeah.
detrimental to their health, right? And I think
And
AI
those
entering
and then in
is just
terms
going to
of
make it worse.
in terms of social media too, the cyberbullying is much worse for girls than it is for boys too, right?
Yeah, so imagine you're able to imagine you get Chat GPT to program a bot for you to spam your best friend's girl that she's like cheating with
Oh,
another guy or something like that,
yeah.
and it's AI actually doing it, not you, because you're there right beside her, and
You're
how
gonna
could it
do
be
like a
you?
deep fake
Oh
of her
yeah,
boyfriend's voice and pretend to break up with her
break
or
up with
some
her and
shit.
set a
Yeah.
timer for 8 o'clock for a message text to come and say I'm with him right now. I don't know. You could do so much shit with AI as a tool, right?
Hmm.
And just knowing human nature, it will eventually get to a point where it's gonna be. I don't know, and I hope people are like, you know what I mean. I hope
I
people
hope
are like,
people not totally fucking evil assholes about it. That would
and
be
I
nice.
I can see a renaissance of going like not super hipster where you're buying like or you're making your own food on your lawn and that kind of shit. But like I can see people getting away from technology and
Yeah.
not, you know what I mean? Like not being a
Yeah,
part of
like
the AI.
you yeah, like you and I talking about, you know, being addicted like basically everyone, but not being as addicted to it, especially social media in particular, as we used to be.
Yeah,
And,
know your limits.
reading physical books and not spending as much time watching YouTube videos and listening to audiobooks and that sort of thing.
Yeah, know your limits, keep it balanced. Yeah, all that stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what any other aspects you can think of that we haven't discussed on this topic of AI?
Yeah, I can't think of any. I do have to wrap up soon just because it's getting late here. But
Yeah, I figured it's probably getting late where you are because it's
yeah,
2 hours later for you.
I can't think of anything else other than yeah. I hope that AI will be more of a positive than a negative for us as humans. I just knowing the track record and history of humans and technology, I highly doubt that. I'm very skeptical of it. And
But at the
but
same time, we did both say that it's probably also not going to be the apocalypse.
It's definitely not going to be the apocalypse. I don't see like Terminator happening in my lifetime, at least, right? Like it definitely might happen like maybe 500 years from now, maybe 100 years from now, maybe 50 years. I don't know. Like we're at the point where robots, like the paperclip thing, you know what I mean? Where you design the AI to make a paperclip, and then it ends up nuking all of China in order to make the best paperclip. You know what I mean? Because that's where, I don't know. That's what the
Yeah.
paperclip theory is. But
Yeah, the AI will destroy the world in order to make the most
make
paper clips.
exactly right. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think it will become Terminator. I probably won't be around for if it does become Terminator, but who knows?
I'd be happy to not be around for the Skynet scenario.
Yeah, although I always want to, like, as a father, I always want to like pass on like a great culture, society, amazing utopia for my son to live in. And if it's just a world full of AI, I don't know, man. It doesn't sound too exciting to me. It sounds awesome and useful and can do work for me. That's great, but you know what I mean? Is
Yeah,
that
I
all? Is that all
like
to life? You know what I mean?
yeah, I wouldn't want it to live in a totally virtual world.
Yeah, like
You know,
robots doing everything, Roomba on the thing, fiber and internet connection. You know what I mean? Everything delivered to you. Uber Eats coming every. Is that it at the end of the day? Is that all that life is, and having everything just done for you? I don't think so. I think there's more to like I think there's something of meaning to even like putting a sandwich together for yourself, grabbing two slices of bread, going through the fridge, figuring out what meat you're gonna put on there, choosing your sauces. I mean, it's gonna get to a point where like AI has automatically made you a sandwich because you like it on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Your sandwich
mm,
this way because you've done it that way 5 times the
mhm.
past 5 years, right? So
Yeah,
it's gonna get boring though, you know what I mean? Like this doesn't sound like a
I think
world that I would want to be in.
it'll have to be things that you enjoy doing. I think like examples we talked about, like we both enjoy reading physical books, and you know, so like another example, which is just like me being a masochist and enjoying working out, that we have a snowblower, but sometimes I still shovel the snow anyway to get more of a workout doing it,
Yeah,
which
that's true.
probably sounds crazy to some people, but it's a
No,
good form of cardio too.
100%, dude. I got a car, but I still ride my bike a ton in the summer when it's a fucking nice day out. You know what I mean? Because there's
Yeah,
something to like getting sun on you and getting out there and getting
yeah.
moving and shit.
Well, and also too, I figure when I'm shoveling snow, I can do some cardio and a chore and kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, yeah. I just hope the younger generations still have that mentality because I have that mentality to get out there and move on my bike. You have that mentality to get out there, lift some weights, pump it, eat well. Do the younger generations, do they really have that kind of umph to do that? I don't see a lot of that, right?
Not as much anyway. Yeah, it's yeah, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
That's one thing that you know, there's a reason that even though probably most kids hate school when they go to school, one class that a lot of people, at least when I was growing up, still liked was gym class because you got to run around and stuff. But you know, I guess in with rising obesity rates in even in children in particular, that's probably becoming less of a thing.
Yeah, I still think they have gym. I just don't like for me, I can remember man, we had the most dangerous swing set in gymnastics, pole vaulting equipment. When I went to school, we played dodgeball. We did like, you know what I mean? We played
Do they not play
baseball.
dodgeball anymore?
Well, I'm just saying, like, we live in the era of safety. I highly doubt, like, my kids probably play like Nerf softball or something like that. You know what I
Oh
mean? Like,
yeah.
it's probably not an exciting gym class, is what I'm getting at. It's nothing
Hmm.
with, you know what I mean? It's probably
Man,
like
I
run around the
remember
track
like
for 20 minutes.
it's not like we had to suffer every day or anything. We would play games most of the time, like dodgeball and stuff. But you know, every once in a while we would have to do hard things like like not often, like I said, but like a rope climb. Or I remember when we were in elementary school, our gym teacher had us do a static arm hold contest at one point.
Yeah. Oh, dude, when I was in grade school basketball, our teacher was having us do suicide, like 5 suicides, or I forget what the number was before we even started practicing that
Oh
day.
wow.
They would never make you do that the shit out of any. They would make you run around and do it like a light aerobics to get you started into the game, but they wouldn't have you
Yeah.
do like full on. You know what I mean?
Man, yeah, it's cool. My friend who just recently started being a teacher, he he was telling me that at first he was trying to be all empathetic, but then he as a teacher, but then he quickly just became like the stereotypical old school hard ass teacher, because he basically thinks exactly what you're talking about right now, and like about basically what Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukianoff are talking about in the coddling of the American mind, that a lot of these kids are like too soft nowadays and will complain about shit. So he's just done things like, if a kid speaks out of turn or something, he'll say, "Hey, stop, give me 50 push-ups," and they'll have to do it because he's the gym teacher, and then he also teaches some other classes. So yeah, like a gym teacher in particular is good for that.
Yeah, no, we need more of that. We need way more of that actually in grade school and high school. Kids being, you know, talked like kids talk back to their teachers these days, right? That wasn't a thing when I was in high school or grade
Yeah.
school, and if you did, you got in trouble of it. And like the parent wouldn't come in and solve the problem, and you know what I mean. Like the principal would tell the parent that the kid got in trouble. It sets up kids up,
Mm.
like going back to your buddy being kind of more forceful. It sets the kids up for good boundaries, and that's how life is. Like once you leave this house and get outside, it's not like all flowers and
Yeah.
amazing, right? It's fucking
Yeah,
tough out
you're
there.
not going to be able
People
to
are
talk back
assholes.
to your boss when you go into
Fuck
work.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, my boss says, "Yo, Chris, do this," and I go, "Yo, all right, done." You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I do the oh, what's that David Goggins thing? Fucking
I'm sure
oh
it's
man.
something fucking hardcore if it has something to do with David Goggins.
Yeah, he's got this great line for like if you ask him to do a task, it's like
I'll do it twice as much.
that's it. But it's like he's got an acronym for it, which is oh, what the hell is the acronym? I can't remember it. That's gonna bug me. Anyway,
David Goggins acronym?
yeah.
Hmm. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna just look that up and see if I find anything. David Goggins. What is it, like a discipline acronym?
Yeah, discipline for tasks.
Uh,
It's like
well,
over
that was a mistake to put discipline in there, because like every video
no.
associated with David Goggins is
uh,
about discipline.
it's like message receive, expect results. Roger that. That's what it is.
Roger that.
So yeah.
Oh, what
So
does the acronym
receive
Roger mean by
yeah,
David Goggins?
received orders given, expect results.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now as you're saying that. Yeah.
So if your
Okay.
boss says, "Hey, Chris, pick up those, 10 pieces of lumber over there and put them over there," well, I'm gonna put them in perfect order. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I got your order, and it's gonna be fucking. I'm gonna do it right now. It's gonna be quick. It's gonna be done. It's gonna be, you know what I mean? So yeah, kids need to learn like stuff. Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. Received. Roger that. Received orders given. Expect results.
Okay. Oh, so you say that to your boss?
No, but I do that a lot, not all the time. Obviously, nobody does that all the time, but I try
Yeah, no
to.
one no one is actually David Goggins.
I try, yeah, exactly. I try to do that. I try to remind myself of Roger that or the David Goggins saying. If somebody, especially if a buddy's like,
Mhm.
"Hey man, can you like do this for me?" Or you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I'll do this. I got it. Boom, boom. Yeah,
Well, that's good. Yeah, it's important to be there for your friends.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there could so easily be an AI David Goggins. Just basically say, program this guy who is insane with discipline. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Have you read his? He has a new book where his mom is in it. Actually, have you? I wouldn't recommend reading it. The audiobook is really good because he gets his mom to read some of the chapters in it.
Oh, okay.
Like
No, I haven't
especially,
read it yet. I saw his most recent podcast with Joe Rogan in which he was talking about it, but no, I haven't
yeah,
read it.
yeah, it's a good book. I yeah recommend it.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, he is definitely inspirational to the point of insanity. I
yeah,
remember I've told my mom about some of the shit that he's done before, and she's like, "He's stupid. What's wrong with him?"
oh yeah, like didn't he? Yeah, he did like a triathlon, like and overdid it, like broke like his like legs were like
Yeah, he like broke his
broke his
knee and
leg,
kept running an
kept
entire
running it or
marathon
something.
with a
Yeah,
broken knee or some shit. And there was one time when he was doing a marathon, he had a heart attack. He got airlifted out by helicopter, got open heart surgery, then made them fly him back to the race, and he finished it walking immediately after fucking heart surgery.
yeah,
And there was some other thing about how he fucked up the cartilage on his knee to the point that it was bone on bone, and he was running entire marathons on this, and his doctor
yeah.
was amazed that he could even
He even
walk on
walk.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
fuck
remember him
that.
saying that. I think he said that on Rogan. That whole spiel.
Yeah, I
That
think so. Yeah.
but yeah, he has crushing Tuesday mornings or whatever, where he'll just like, he'll, yeah, he gets up at like 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, on a random Tuesday morning with his shirt off, and just goes for like a 40-kilometer run, and just like crushes it every Tuesday morning, just like a random weekday. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah,
That's pretty
he's
cool.
an animal.
Yeah, he is, man.
Yeah,
It's very entertaining to see him. I don't get as like ignited by those disciplined guys as I used to, but it's still very useful and like entertaining to see for sure.
yeah. I don't get excited about him too. Although if I just listen to a David, if he's just on Rogan, I just listen to him. I want to like get up and clean this house. You know what I mean? I want to like,
Right.
you know what I mean? I want to do something right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's maybe this is ironic, and or maybe it's just a good thing. I have so much self-cultivated discipline for my workouts, like we were talking about, to the point that I actually enjoy working out. So that I used to, especially back in my powerlifting days when I was training and competing in powerlifting, I would always have like angry heavy metal music playing while I was working out. But nowadays, I usually watch documentaries while I'm working out because I can amp myself up enough for workouts to the point that I've done it too much before, and I actually have to kind of calm myself down because I'm too good at being focused on my workouts. So I like to watch. I like have something playing in the background that's not, adrenaline inducing at all whatsoever.
Yeah, I save it. Like if I go for a bike ride and it's like hot day, July, 40 degrees, and I'm like struggling to make it home, I still got like 10 kilometers to go. I'll switch from podcast to like, yeah, Green Day or something like punk, and then just like, all right, let's
Yeah, that
go.
makes
You know what I mean?
sense.
Give me that
That makes
energy
sense.
to like, you know what I mean? Get me home. So I do it in the opposite way. I don't usually, when I do a workout or whatever, I usually, yeah, I'm podcast all the time, unless I'm like really struggling to like, if I want to do like, yeah, 10K on a bike and I need to make that last 2K. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Hard rock
Yeah.
music is the playlist to go to.
That's another thing too in terms of technology in general. I haven't done this for a while, partially because I injured my knee, but I was for a while for my cardio going on jogs in the forest by my house. And I would usually just do it without music and just get absorbed in the nature. That's always super fun.
Yeah, it's actually good to do that. Like, yeah, we're not meant to listen to have constant, you know what I mean, in our ear.
Yeah,
It's good. It's
exactly.
good to not just get out and feel nature. Like they say, even just looking at trees and looking at grass.
Hmm.
There's that phrase, touch grass. You know what I mean?
Even like
Just getting
having plants in your house. We have a lot
yeah,
of plants in our house. That's a good thing
yes,
too.
sunlight too. Any kind of sunlight, vitamin D is yeah. We're product creatures of habit and products of our environment. and we were hunter-gatherers and land animals for millions of years or hundreds of thousands of years.
Yep,
Yeah.
definitely. Well, yeah, we know the importance of movement and being outside and not sitting around eating junk food in front of a screen all day and being on social media all day and that kind of shit.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
That
true.
shit will be even more important, as we were talking about in the beginning, since there will now very soon possibly be a whole bunch of AI deepfakes and AI trolls who would try to get into arguments with you on social media.
Yeah, now you can get the AI to respond and pretty much keep your Twitter account alive for you, right? There'll be bots that you could set up, and yeah, I mean, if you're a person with like 20,000 tweets, you could go through and just pretty much auto respond for you and get to know you after it goes through your whole entire profile. So
Wow,
yeah,
that sounds so easy to do too.
yeah, I know.
All right. Well, yeah, I know you. I know you need to get going there. So, all right. Well, yeah. Thanks for talking, man. This was fun as always,
Yeah, man.
and
Thanks for
I
having me.
hope all of you watching enjoyed it too. Tell us your comments on all of this AI stuff and all of these other culture-related topics that we were discussing, and check out. Oh yeah, I had asked Dusty, but I didn't see whether you could yet. Do you want to talk about the Animal Farm book by George Orwell on Friday?
You know what? I've never read it, so I'm
Okay.
yeah.
There's the audiobooks on YouTube. It's only a novella. It's like 3 hours long.
Oh, it's only 3 hours long.
Yeah,
And when is it?
super
Friday?
short. Yeah.
Oh, I just
If you can't make read it before then, that's fine. If you do you want to maybe do that next week then?
um yeah, maybe. Well, I go ahead and yeah, I'll see if I can digest it maybe quickly Friday or tomorrow. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll
Yeah,
let you
if
know.
not, you said because we were saying that Dusty he starts work later on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays now. So you said that Friday or Saturday you could start later, right? So
Yeah, Fridays or
um,
Saturdays.
so maybe we could talk about it either on Friday night or Saturday night then.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, cool, man. All
Cool.
right, yeah, thanks. So everyone, check out that chat. Check out the last one I did, which was with my friend Dusty, and we talked about the third king, or the third book in Stephen King's fantasy, western, horror, sci-fi, fantasy series, like 18 different genres. The third book in his Dark Tower series called The Wastelands. So check that out. And yeah, subscribe to the channel, click that like button, share this video everywhere, click that bell to be notified when I come out with new videos. Check out my Patreon page. The link is in the description as always. And like I always say, I love you all. Keep being the tiny beam of light that shines through the almost impenetrable darkness in the universe. And most importantly, always remember this: the funk cures all, and grooves in the heart. And we will not know how AI is going to turn out and whether it's going to be hell or a utopia until it happens. So it's hard to say what's going to happen. All right.
Yeah,
And
true.
also read more books. Books are good.
Yep.
And practice some discipline, but don't be insane about it like David Goggins. Just work out and stuff. That's good. All right. Anything else you want to say before we end it there, Chris?
No, that's it, man. Thanks again for having me on.
All right. Thanks again, man. And thanks again, everyone. And adios until next time.